Is Alzheimer's a foodborne illness? Helicobacter pylori linked to Alzheimer's disease. In issue 111, I wrote about a possible new foodborne pathogen which has been linked to serious chronic gastrointestinal conditions such as Crohn's disease, and that pathogen is Helicobacter pylori. It's from the same genus as Helicobacter pylori, which has been considered a leading cause of stomach ulcers since the 1990s. Now Helicobacter pylori is in the spotlight again after researchers found confirmation of a possible link between it and Alzheimer's disease. A new study set out to understand whether people with a clinically apparent Helicobacter pylori infection could be at increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. The researchers analysed 30 years of health data of more than 4 million people in the United Kingdom aged 50 and over. For the analysis, each newly developed case of Alzheimer's disease was matched with 40 dementia-free controls using a nested case control approach. Salmonellosis was used as a negative control exposure. People with symptomatic Helicobacter pylori infection were 11% more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease than matched control groups. The risk was highest 10 years after the onset of symptomatic Helicobacter pylori infection at 24%. Salmonellosis was not associated with an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. The study built on previous research which suggested links between people with gastritis and neurodegenerative diseases, including observational studies which linked Helicobacter pylori infections to increased risks of Alzheimer's disease. Helicobacter pylori has been found in raw milk, vegetables, meat and water, as well as in the gastric tissues of food animals such as sheep and cows. Unhygienic food handling environments and areas with poor sanitation are linked to populations with a higher prevalence of Helicobacter pylori infections. Viable Helicobacter pylori can be recovered from inoculated foods for around a week after inoculation. It doesn't appear to reproduce in foods, but it does appear to be able to survive well in low acid, high moisture foods when they are stored at refrigerated temperatures. In 2018, researchers writing in the World Journal of Gastroenterology proposed that Helicobacter pylori be considered a foodborne pathogen. Takeaways for food professionals. Food containing Helicobacter pylori may pose a risk to consumers who may develop gastric diseases after exposure to the bacterium. Such diseases may also increase the likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease. Raw milk, raw vegetables and meat have been found to contain the bacterium. Helicobacter pylori is thought to contaminate food via the fecal-oral route, that is, the food becomes contaminated from contaminated environments and unsanitary handling practices. Helicobacter pylori survives in foods at refrigerated temperatures. Some scientists consider it a foodborne pathogen with contaminated food and water a possible disease transmission route. This new research highlights how unexpected and previously unforeseeable outcomes could arise from unhygienic food handling practices, with contaminated food potentially leading to long-term health issues, including gastric diseases and Alzheimer's disease. In short, a human pathogen, Helicobacter pylori, which causes gastric diseases, is found in food, and the diseases may be transmitted by foodborne routes. People who have had symptomatic Helicobacter pylori infections are more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease, according to a new study which made use of demographic and exposure controls and used data from more than 4 million people in the United Kingdom. And as always, you will find the sources for everything that I've said in the email and the post. And do go back and check out issue 111. And that was about Helicobacter pylori. And the headline for that was, does this newly discovered bacterium cause chronic gastric diseases like Crohn's? And you will find a link to that past issue in the email and the post.